on which we meet, and also pay respect to all elders, past, present, and extend that respect to any Indigenous Australians present here today. I'd like to remind all of you that this meeting is being recorded in audio and video, as well as being live streamed. Councillors are reminded that parliamentary privilege does not extend to this chamber as it does to state and federal parliamentarians, and you are reminded to be cognisant of this in any comments which you make during the course of the meeting. I'd also like to remind councillors to use your microphone when speaking, and for any councillors or officers who are attending virtually, please use the mute button if you're not speaking. In the event of an evacuation, I would ask that you remain calm and follow my directions. The exits are out of the gallery doors to the east of us there, and down the stairwell out onto Bloomfield Street, where we will intersect with some miniature goats this morning. Public conduct at meetings. All members of the public present must, not without prior approval of the chairperson, make any audio or video recording or take any photographs. Remain quiet and not disrupt the meeting in any way. Not bring into the meeting any signs, placards or items that may cause a hazard or interfere with any person present, although I would have made an exception for a minute ago. And be suitably dressed. Turn all mobile devices to silent mode and leave the meeting to take any calls. And as the chairperson, it is my responsibility to warn any member of the public present at the meeting who is not complying with any of these requirements that I may, without warning, require that person to leave the meeting and not return for a period of time. This period may include all future meetings of council. So at this point, we would normally do Mayor Joss Mitchell has just joined us. Morning, Mayor. Mayor Mitchell. Mayor Mitchell, if you can hear us, your mute button is on. Oh no, we won't do that. She could be doing anything. Okay, I will proceed, assuming the Mayor will join us soon. She has requested to...
Good morning, everyone. I had trouble logging in with the audio, so now it is working. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Mitchell has requested to participate in the general meeting via teleconference. Therefore, may I have a mover and a seconder that the Mayor be permitted to participate in the meeting via Teams. Moved, Councillor Mitchell, seconded, Councillor Koala. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. I'll just remind you to sign the attendance sheet if you've not done so already, councillors. And I'd like to invite Pastor Mariska Dupree of the C3 Church Redland Bay to lead us in a brief devotional segment. Morning, Mariska.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks again. It's always an honour and a pleasure to share with you guys this morning. I had a little chat with God about what to share with you guys this morning, a room full of amazing leaders. So many topics came to mind, you know, the common ones, wisdom, being great encouragers, having resilience, all those kind of things. But God knows me, and he knows I like to talk about something different that people don't normally talk about. And this morning it's about spiritual, physical and emotional health, something we all need. You know, we tend to put ourselves last, especially in times when we in a get it done cycle. When high pressure's on, we tend to put ourselves last. But God cares about this topic. And it says in 3 John 1:2, "Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well." This short verse right there reminds us that God cares about us looking after ourselves. It's not just about our spiritual walk. It's about our emotional, our physical, and our mental health. It's a holistic picture of health, body, mind, and soul all working together. So physically, we are reminded that our bodies matter. Rest, nourishment, and balance aren't luxuries. They are necessary. When we take care of our bodies, we are better equipped to serve others with energy and clarity. And I'm sure that's what everybody wants to do. Emotionally, life and leadership can be demanding, as you would all know. Stress, pressure, and conflict takes its toll on us, even if we don't want it to. But God says in this verse that he desires that all may go well with you, including your inner world. So taking time to pause, people, reflect and support one another helps us to stay grounded and resilient. Our spiritual health is the foundation. Spiritually, the verse says, even as your soul is getting along well. When we stay connected to God through whatever that may look like for you, prayer, worship, honoring, humility, wisdom, we gain perspective and peace and guidance that flows into every area of our lives. So today, as you meet, as you make decisions, as you discuss tough topics, let's remember we don't just bring our roles to the table, we bring our whole selves. So I would like to pray for everyone this morning. Father, we just thank you, Lord God, that you care about us emotionally, physically, and mentally, Father. Lord, we just pray that this week you will show us if there's any area of our life we need to pay attention to stop and take care of ourselves, Lord God, that you will bring it to our attention, Lord. I pray for every single person in-house and online today, Lord God. Bless them, protect them, Father God. Go before them, Lord. We thank you for your love and grace in this space. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you, councillors. We move on to recognition of achievement, and today we have 2 members of staff whose service we would like to recognise. Kerry Veal is, I believe, in the chambers. Kerry's there. Thank you, Kerry. And Catherine Bevan, who couldn't be with us this morning. And both Kerry and Catherine have given 35 years service to this organisation and this community, and that is a really significant lifelong dedication. So it's well worth noting that today. So if I can talk first of all about Kerry. Kerry joined council in March 1991 at just 21 years of age. I think we should have asked if we should reveal all of those figures. A young British woman, and she began her career here at Redland City Council, starting on the front counter in the engineering department. And I remember the front counter of the engineering department, which was on this floor. Kerry commenced her journey of serving Redland's community under the guidance of John Derbyshire and Phil Hennessy. And for the past 35 years, Kerry has never stopped doing exactly that, supporting her colleagues and supporting our community with unwavering dedication. After her first year on the front counter, Kerry moved into the subdivision section of the engineering department. There she worked closely with engineers and the survey plan team, assisting with inspection bookings, issuing engineering approvals and supporting the plan sealing process. Over time, that engineering department evolved into the Environment Planning and Development Group, known today as City Planning and Assessment Team. During her 23 years in engineering, Kerry held several administrative and supervisory roles and had the privilege of working alongside some of Council's finest, including Bruce Appleton, Alan Gadella, Dennis Yardley, Jenny Kidd and Janine Shaler. Many of these colleagues became mentors, others became long-standing friends, and many are still working here today or are remembered well today. A few years after finally having a street named after her, Kerry moved into the business support role in the 2014 Planning Scheme Review project. When that major project concluded, the team transitioned into the Economic Sustainability and Major Projects Group, where Kerry became the permanent group support officer in 2016. Although she enjoyed her time in economic, Kerry missed the operational heartbeat of council. So in 2020, she joined the Development Control Unit as a senior business officer, where she remains a much-loved member of the team today. In fact, some might say, Kerry, you are the leader of the DC unit. 35 years is an extraordinary milestone, one we don't often see in today's working world. But in those 35 years, Kerry, you have made an impact that reaches far beyond job titles, departments and organisational charts. You have contributed not only through the quality of your work, your reliability and your dedication to your teams and your commitment to the organisation, but through the relationships you have built and the lives you have touched. Those connections built over decades are among the greatest gift of a career like yours and extend far beyond the walls of this council building out into our community. Kerry, congratulations on 35 years of exceptional service. It's an honour and a privilege to celebrate with you today. And on behalf of the organisation, we thank you for your dedication, your loyalty and your remarkable contribution to the City of Redland. Thank you. Yeah. Although she couldn't be with us today, we're also acknowledging Catherine's service. Catherine has had 35 years with Council and is a library assistant at Stradbroke Island Community and Customer Service. Today we celebrate and acknowledge that 35 years service, and that has been a dedicated service to Council and to the North Stradbroke Island community. Kath has been a steadfast solo worker across NSI libraries, bringing consistency, reliability and deep local knowledge to her interactions. Her pride in wearing the council uniform has always shone through, reflecting not just her professionalism but the genuine care she holds for the people she serves. Throughout her career, Kath has taken her role seriously, upholding the highest standards and demonstrating unwavering commitment to her community. Her presence, her work ethic and the respect she has earned over decades have made a meaningful and lasting impact. Kath, thank you for your loyalty, your passion and your service. For many years, you've dedicated to supporting and strengthening the new NSI community. Your contribution also is truly valued, admired and appreciated. So we say thank you to Kath as well. Now, I've just got a little letter here for Kerry, if you'd like to pop up and see me. Would you like a photo? Thank you so much. Thank you. Yay. Move. Oh, we've got to get rid of the logo. Excuse me. We've got the feathers and the Olympics. Thanks. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Kerry. Now, I believe we have some councillors that would also like to make some recognitions of achievement, and I'll go first, if I can, to Councillor Peter Mitchell.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I have two today. The first group I'd like to recognise is Bay Island Lifestyle. I'd like to recognise Bay Island Lifestyle, who operate out of the incredible Raby Bay Foreshore Park, for winning a gold medal award for excellence in accessible tourism at the 2025 Qantas Australian Tourism Awards earlier this month. We're incredibly proud of them. When you win such an award, you're allowed to indulge them a little bit, and they did want me to thank councillors today for the support that we've offered them, and they did ask me to ask to thank myself, but also Councillor Baglari, Bishop and Mayor Mitchell for taking an extra interest in them down there, and invite all of you to come down soon and to meet them and enjoy what they offer. This prestigious national recognition highlights Bay Island Lifestyle's outstanding commitment to inclusivity, accessibility and innovative tourism experiences. They really have been a leader. Bay Island Lifestyle offers activities that ensure everyone, no matter what ability, can enjoy access to the water. They not only have tailored kayaks, paddleboards and water bikes designed specifically for people with disabilities, or rather for all abilities, but also provide trained staff to assist people with those different abilities. The social benefit of what the team provides to visitors in the community is invaluable. The economic spin-off is also significant to our area. The Qantas Australian Tourism Award is a significant national accolade. And with only 7 winners from Queensland this year being awarded with the top gong, this win is something our whole community can be very, very proud of. So my personal congratulations and all of us to Ashley, Karen and the team at Bay Island Lifestyle. Thank you. Yeah. And quite different, but no less unique. I would also like to acknowledge the success of some well-known locals, the Hazel family, Tony, Greg and their son Jordan. What they've done with their company Morton Hospitality Group is delivering a significant social and economic benefit to our city, namely a $38 million purchase and redevelopment of the iconic Stradbroke Island Hotel. Really quite amazing. It only opened recently again. This major development required a 9-month shutdown, the significant private investment, but also kept really deep respect for community values front of their mind throughout the whole project. The hotel itself features upgraded dining, expanded decks, function and conference areas, but it also embeds and honours North Stradbroke Island's coastal identity. Importantly, it saved features from the important historic hotel developments, but also pictures of iconic Straddy surf and life-saving veterans, crucial to their community. Its reopening also boosts the local, state and international tourism, but more so it brings employment, supports local business, suppliers and island-based not-for-profit groups. The social benefits are indeed significant. I note the venue's important cultural role, the renewed support for local events and its importance as a community gathering space where stories, camaraderie and support are shared. It really has been remarkable. The Hazel family also continue to collaborate with Council on economic and tourism development, environmental management, safety initiatives, including transport solutions, provide their own worker housing in a very challenging environment. All of these things will only further add to the community that the hotel sits within. Before this Straddy adventure, Tony and Greg had very strong ties into the Redlands. They're prior residents of Cleveland, business owners at Raby Bay, and have ties to our sporting community through Redlands Rugby League, the Mighty Parrots. I understand Greg was a coach and Tony, not sure if he was an assistant, but as Greg calls him, he was the water boy. The habit of giving back to the community, therefore, is no surprise. It's clear not only through this significant development that they've brought to our community, but also through their quick support for Stradbroke and the Straddy community during Tropical Cyclone Alfred. They offered shelter, food, power and digital communications to the outside world. for what was otherwise a very isolated community in that time. This experience has led to further discussions with Council's disaster management team and ongoing chats through the Straddie Chamber of Commerce, determining where businesses can be better embedded into disaster resilience through preparedness, response, and also recovery. So thank you and well done, Tony, Greg, Jordan, and your impressive team for the economic development that you've provided to the community, but also those amazing social contributions that you're also making. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And you might have noticed today I'm wearing a Olympic fundraising jersey from the Aussie Athlete Fund, which is part of our push to get recognition and legacy for Redland, and investment like the Hazels into the city is absolutely essential for us to achieve that, and we need more of it, so thank you. Councillor Bishop, I believe you wanted to make a recognition?
Yes, indeed, and it's a recognition that, as I read a little bit more about it, will allow council to speak and officers to also do some awareness raising for recognition of achievement for two young teenage Redlanders, Harlan Good and Asher Iyer, who have been winning fans on the television singing competition Australian Idol over the last few weeks. Harlan Good, 18, of Cleveland, and Asher Iyer, 16, of Thornside. Harlan has made it into the top 12. He's got a really big emotional voice and a love for powerhouse ballads. He grew up on country and rock before discovering musical theatre and realised that he was made for the stage. In 2025, he was the vice captain at Sheldon College, no slouches in the musical talent arena, and that's where he starred as Troy in High School Musical, an iconic role, and he also sings in community choirs. His Australian Idol performances have included moving renditions of ABBA's The Winner Takes It All, Diana Ross's Chain Reaction, Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer, and Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He continues in the show, and you can make your votes, and that's probably a really important thing to just recognise support for our Redlanders, and the talent in our city is extraordinary. Asher Iyer of Thornside had made it into the top 21. A senior student at Redlands College, he has a passion for old school rap. Asher has worked at a fast food restaurant for 6 months in order to save money to build his own bedroom recording studio, where he now creates music, runs sessions with other aspiring artists, and performs and collaborates across southeast Queensland. He realised that he wanted to be a rapper at just age 10 after turning a school speech into a full rap performance. Councillors, be careful. Ash's performance on Australian Idol included Can't Hold Us by Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, Hip Hop Hooray by Naughty by Nature, and Jump by Chris Cross. We just want to offer congratulations to both those young, talented performers and wish them all the very best. We'll be seeing more of them in future. So thank you very much for that. It made us proud.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, I now turn your attention to the receipt and confirmation of minutes. Can I have a mover and a seconder to confirm the minutes of the 18th of February? Moved Councillor Hughes, seconded Councillor Mackenzie. Any matters of correctness, councillors?
No, thank you, Deputy.
All good. With that, I put the vote. Those in favour? And Mayor Mitchell's Mayor Mitchell, are you indicating a vote in favour with your hand up, or you wanted to say something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am. That's a vote in favour.
Okay, so I'll take that from now for the meeting, that will be your vote with your hand up on the screen, or would you like me to
Thank you. That's
confirm?
correct.
Okay, thank you. That was unanimous. Thank you. Now, councillors, I'll turn your attention to our segment that allows public participation in the meeting, And in accordance with section 6.8, council meeting standing orders, I'll ask if we can suspend the meeting for a period of 10 minutes to allow 2 members of the public who have made prior request to address the meeting. Can I have a mover and a seconder that the meeting standing orders be suspended for a 10-minute public participation segment to allow these members of the public to address the council on matters of interest related to the local government? Moved Councillor Bishop, seconded Councillor Rendells. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Just before the first speaker comes forward, speakers, you may have noticed the signage in the chambers regarding the public participation at meetings. It is council's usual practice to require any person wishing to address the meeting to state their name, their suburb, or the organisation that they represent and the subject they wish to speak about. This information is recorded in the minutes of the meeting, which is a public document available for inspection at Council's Administration Building and published on Council's website. I would also advise that the meeting is being live streamed and that by speaking you acknowledge and agree that this meeting can be seen in the public domain. Any person addressing the meeting will state their name, suburb and organisation they represent and the subject they wish to speak about, stand unless unable to do so, act and speak with decorum, be respectful and courteous, and make no comment directed at individual council employees, councillors or other members of the public, and ensure that all comments relate to council as a whole. And with that, I invite Mrs. Patricia Zakareski? Sorry, thank you. Who to come forward and speak to us on our proposed animal management laws. Thank you. Just to the lectern over there, and I'll get someone to make sure the microphone is on for you. Are you okay to stand?
Yeah, apologies for my slowness. I had a fall and blown my bursa and my cartilage in my knee, so just waiting on surgery at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
So my name is Patricia Sikshevsky. I know it's a hard one to spell. I'm from Russell Island, and yes, I'm here regarding the animal management laws. The miniature goats that many of you saw are mine. So the reason that I'm been asking to do this is, as you can see from those that saw the goats, they're smaller than your family dog. Now we live in a nature reserve type area, especially on the islands, but also the Redland City Council in general. We are surrounded by trees and bushland. Miniature goats eat grass. They keep the natural weeds down. You don't have to rely on pesticides and all those sorts of things which are harmful to other wildlife, including our own family pets. Miniature goats are smaller than your family dog, but are just as easy to look after. They only require suitable fencing, their hooves to be trimmed just like a dog's do, and they require their yearly vaccinations. Now, miniature goats are also regulated by the Farms, Fishing and Forestry Department of the local government, where if you saw the goats downstairs, they each get a little ear tag. So they've got their own little registration number that's held by government, so they manage where livestock are travelling throughout Australia, and that is a government law. So they're monitored by other departments. The various breeders associations and farming associations around Australia recommend that miniature goats, such as the ones that we saw outside this morning, only require 1,000 square metres of land per pair of miniature goats. Miniature goats are a bonding animal. They do require a family type structure, so they are best in pairs, but they do also bond with chickens and your family dogs. Mine actually run around in a pack with my dogs. So I've even got photos of them sitting on my bed when I go to have a shower. So they're very family orientated animals. They are great for the local wildlife. They are great for your basic backyard. What I'm asking, which you would see in the petition that I handed in at the end of 2025, so I won't go into all the details of what's in the petition, I'll just summarise it for you, is that they are regarded as miniatures, not full size. that they be taken into consideration just like other miniature livestock, like your chickens, guinea fowl, ducks, geese. They're regarded as miniatures and they're allowed because of their size and their benefits. Miniature goats are the same. They're smaller than your family dog and they come full of benefits, both for our families and for our natural wildlife. Miniature goats also are very, very easy to care for. They don't smell, they're non-aggressive, they don't attack other animals. There is nothing negative about them. And for those that were out there patting them this morning, you noticed Charlie, the little black one, went to the toilet a couple of times, and it's very easy to clean up and it doesn't smell. So all the things that we are proposing, you have all seen, or most of you would have seen this morning. So my proposal or my request is that Council review the animal management laws in regards to these miniature goats so that they're allowed as family pets on larger blocks and in line with various breeders associations and other councils surrounding ours, that we allow them on 1,000 square metres of land as per pair of miniature goats. So for example, if someone has, say, a 1,300 square metre block of land with a 250 square metre house, then they have over 1,000 square metres of land, so they have plenty of land for those animals. I understand that you may have 1,000 square metres of land and, say, a 300 square metre house, so that would not qualify, and that is understandable. They do need to have the minimum land that keeps them happy. So that is what I'm asking for today.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you.
I'll now call Christine Orpen up to the lectern.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to address Council this morning. My name is Chris Orpen, and I live at Wynyard Street Garden Village in Cleveland. I'm here representing a number of concerned residents from our village and others who live near to or utilise the park located between Wynyard Street and Coburg Street East in Cleveland. There has been an ongoing issue for almost 4 years of water overflow and subsequent lack of drainage emanating from a Telstra pit located at the Wynyard Street entry to the park. This has created a swampy bog throughout the length of the park. This problem has been reported numerous times to the Council's customer service desk, via emails to Council departments, and communications with our local councillor by numerous residents and passers-by. These complaints have been duly acknowledged, and we've been told various Council departments have investigated or are investigating, but no solution has been proposed or implemented as yet. Previously, this park was well maintained with no leaks or permanent drainage problems and was regularly used every afternoon by a group of 15 to 20 residents to socialise and enjoy the ambience of our local park. Since the drainage issues started, we have been unable to use the park due to the prevalent stench of semi-stagnant water and the increase in mosquitoes, midges and cane toads. Our social group has dispersed to disparate areas, contributing to isolation and lack of socialisation. Pedestrian access to the northern boundary of our village is via a concrete path which has a drain to allow overflow water to flow underneath to an adjacent culvert drain. Unfortunately, the water no longer drains away, possibly due to the build-up of silt and consequent lack of natural fall, and the drain is constantly full of stagnant, slimy water, which is very unpleasant and discourages use of the path. Mowing teams have been doing their best to maintain the park since this problem started. However, they are impeded by boggy ground which cannot be mown. They have been using slashers to reduce the height of the grass, but once again they are unable to access the entire area due to boggy or saturated ground. There have also been 2 cases of dogs contracting giardiasis and requiring veterinary treatment. This is a highly infectious intestinal parasite caused by exposure to stagnant, contaminated water and can easily be transmitted to humans. My own dog had to be hospitalised for 4 days due to the seriousness of his illness, when he was still a puppy, which incurred considerable veterinary costs. We feel that almost 4 years is long enough for action and are asking for a timely and functional solution to this problem so that we can resume usage of our park. We have also submitted a petition to Council to illustrate the local concern. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Ms Orpen. Councillors, can I now have a mover and a seconder that the meeting resume standing orders? Moved Councillor Bishop, seconded Councillor Koala. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you.
Chair, can I just check? I understand that the Mayor is online, but I just wanted to ask as a point of clarification if there does need to be a verbal acknowledgement.
I've asked the Mayor and she's happy with indicating with her hand up.
Yeah, I just
Mayor,
wanted...
Sorry, actually, sorry, if I could just interject. I think actually a good point, Councillor Bishop, in thinking in between when I said that, it's probably best that I do have given that I'm not in the room, a verbal indication online. So, Deputy Mayor, if you don't mind, I'll actually give a verbal indication. Thank you.
Oh, okay. No problem at all, Mayor. Thank you.
In the past, I recall that we have recorded people online as a separate... I'm just not quite sure. I just want to check a process. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, moving on to petitions and presentations. I believe we have 2 petitions today, and I'll move firstly to Councillor Golly.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, I've got a petition here, and it's to introduce council bins at all Redland City Council administrated parks, including Anniversary Park, where illegal dumping has taken place in recent months. Furthermore, also introduce council bins at all bus shelters to minimise rubbish dumping. The petition is of an operational nature and be received and referred to the Chief Executive Officer for consideration. Thank you.
So with that motion put by Councillor Golay, can I have a seconder for that motion, please? Councillor Bishop. All those in favour? Mayor Mitchell?
Yes, affirmative, thanks.
Thank you. That is approved unanimously. And Councillor Golay, did you have a second petition?
No, Deputy, it was only that
you.
one to be accepted by the Chief Executive Officer. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mitchell, you have a petition.
Certainly do. Happens to be a request to resolve water drainage issues at Wynyard Street Park in Cleveland. So the petition request reads, to resolve the drainage water issues in Wynyard Street Park. Slimy, mostly stagnant water encourages mozzies, midgies, toads and other vermin. At times it can be very smelly. It is a concern and an eyesore for local residents and passers-by. Has been a problem for 4+ years. Let's make it an aesthetically pleasing and wildlife-friendly park and walkway for all to enjoy. So the motion is the petition is of an operational nature and be received and referred to the CEO for consideration.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I have a seconder for that? Councillor Coley seconded. All those in favour? Mayor?
Yes, thank you.
That's carried unanimously. Thank you. I've not been advised of any presentations nor any motion to alter the order of business. So I will hand over to the CEO for matters outstanding from previous general meetings.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everybody. There are several items that are on the outstanding from previous general meetings list. 2 will be coming off the agenda today, as they will be reports that we'll be covering off during the course of the meeting. Item 9.1, the draft Birkdale Community Precinct Local Government Infrastructure Designation Consultation Report. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. Item 9.2, the Birkdale Community Precinct. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. Item 9.3, the Cleveland Town Centre Revitalisation Project Update. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. Item 9.4, the Indoor Sports Facilities Planning. A report on this item is listed at 15.3 of today's agenda. Item 9.5, the Notice of Motion Clearing Watercourses of Flood Debris to Mitigate Flood Risks. A report addressing this matter is listed on today's agenda at item 15.1. Item 9.6, Potential Property Disposals Capalaba. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. Item 9.7, the petition request to amend Council's animal management laws regarding miniature goats. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. And item 9.8, the notice of motion from Councillor Jason Colley for customer experience policy for residents affected by persistent water supply issues. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, CEO. Councillors, we're at 10 on our agenda, which is the point where I just remind you if you have any prescribed conflict or declarable conflict of interest, it is your responsibility in relation to any prescribed conflict of interest and declarable conflict of interest in a meeting. Details of these responsibilities are outlined in your agenda. Please be reminded that all interests need to be declared as at a statutory meeting of Council. This means any prescribed or declarable conflict of interest relating to an item being discussed at a non-statutory meeting needs to be declared at a general or a special meeting preceding the non-statutory meeting or workshop. A potential list of items to be discussed at all non-statutory meetings is made available to you with each workshop agenda and before proceeding to the general meeting so that can be achieved, and declarations can also be made at any time throughout this meeting. Does anyone need to raise any conflicts of interest? No, thank you, councillors. Not being advised of any special reports from the CEO. We've not been advised of any mayoral minute. Reports from organisational services. Councillor, we move to 13.1, February 2026 monthly financial statement. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved Councillor Boglari, seconded Councillor Mitchell. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Boglari?
Thank you, Chair. The monthly financial report, again, is just a point in time. It's at the end of the year where the true numbers are that we need to be concerned with. However, it's always good to have this monitoring throughout the year. We note that at present there is a surplus. However, the operating deficit of 8.17 million is still forecast. Capital Works is behind due to a variety of challenges, including supply delays, and with the wet weather, if this continues, that will be another challenge for our crews. Grants, you might notice, have a variance of 18 million. This is some of the estimated future grants. At the time when the budget was adopted, they haven't come through or haven't been funded as yet. Our officers are continually redesigning the financial reports, as I've mentioned previously, to increase clarity and make user-friendly. And on page 33, they've done it again with a new explanatory note to help everybody. And this explanatory note explains the office administration costs. On page 40 are the financial statements of two of the very important council business units, City Water and Waste and City Waste. Residents pay for these services through their utility charges on their rates notice. Both these businesses are complex, and I find these financial statements very interesting monthly, as these businesses have the challenge to cover the costs of the expansion of our city with the new growth, but also the maintenance and operating costs of our existing services and infrastructure. And like many local governments, our infrastructure is ageing, so this definitely is a challenge going forward, and one which our officers are on, and also our budget deliberations have this included. With these financial challenges, it's very important that we support these businesses, because this is the critical infrastructure for the health of our residents, and we have to make sure this is sustainable. An important community message is evident on page 41 of the report. There's an increase in debt owing with an increase in residents contacting council regarding repayment plans. And I think this is a sign of the cost of living and of the times and the challenges. And now with the war and petrol costs, this is only increasing, unfortunately, at the present stage. We would like to say if any resident does require advice or assistance, please do not hesitate to contact council. There are avenues where we can assist, including payment plans. And I would now, through the chair, ask council CFO if they'd also like to talk to the report. Thank you.
Yes, certainly. And I might just clarify the $18 million in grants referred to was not grants council gives out, but council receives from other levels of government. Just thought that might raise some alarm.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, due to the financial statement, it was obvious, but maybe not to those listening. You're correct.
Thank you, CFO.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, thank you to Councillor Boglari to talk to some any additional points that have already been made around the financial results. February's financial results really are a continuation of what has been raised in updates per our previous general meetings. And as noted as well beforehand, the operating result that we see that is forecast from the first budget review to be $8.2 million deficit is subject to a upcoming second budget review. If just briefly in working through the various sections, we can see in the executive summary that all of the key highlights are favourable, and acknowledging that the cash balance that is favourable is largely reflected of that grant funding that has been received. As the report also outlines in the detail, the favourable recurrent revenue variance is related to the increased volumes that we've seen throughout the year of development applications, plumbing assessments and plan ceiling fees. The recurrent expense favourable variance of $2.9 million is largely due to the timing of depreciation expense being recognised. However, as capital works in progress continue to be recognised as assets in our financial system, as well as any contributed assets, it is expected that the full year depreciation budget expense will be realised. So that is considered temporary at this point in time. If I move to section 2 of the key performance indicators, we can see that all of these have met or exceeded targets with the exception of the asset sustainability ratio. It does continue to track upwards throughout the financial year. However, the non-achievement has continued into February and this is as a result of the capital underspend and will continue to be closely monitored. With the section 3, the statement of comprehensive income, points of note in addition to what has already been raised, just to note that February is the second month of the third quarterly rate cycle and there isn't any significant variance there to point out. Interest revenue is higher than budgeted at this stage and that is reflected of higher returns on our cash investments than forecast when the original budget was set. And as Councillor Boglari has noted, on page 33, we have an additional note explaining the inclusion of the savings line in the office administration costs, just to bring that visibility to the community. So with what is moving to the capital report, it does show that $14.3 million underspend and CapEx will be a key focus, that capital expenditure will be a key focus for the budget review 2, which is underway. I believe the moving to statement of financial position, as we've already mentioned, the only other around that grant that's being received, due to the nature of the accounting standards associated with that grant, we need to recognise the bulk of that as unearned revenue, hence why you can see the higher than budgeted amount for other current liabilities. And in closing, Chair, thank you again for the opportunity to talk to any additional notes for the February financial report.
Apologies. Thank you. Are there any speakers against? No, with that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Mayor Mitchell?
Affirmative, thank you.
That's approved unanimously. Thank you. Sorry, just trying to get my diligent boards up. Moving on to item 13.2, Queensland Audit Office Final Management Report. Can I have a mover, please? Moved Councillor Mitchell, seconded Councillor Mackenzie. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Mitchell?
Thanks, Secretary. Very briefly. The report notes the presentation of the QAO Final Management Report for 24-25 to Council for noting. Councils are obliged to present audit reports to the community once received, and that certainly isn't a problem. In fact, I know our ELT and all councils, we really appreciate the crucial role that these external audits play in passing an eye over all the internal control measures that run across all areas of council business. And the auditors then provide recommendations and ongoing monitoring. You can read through the reports, but this is a rolling process and a very important one where several items you'll note will be complete, others are in progress. But the important thing, it's a process of constant improvement and remediation to help manage risk. And in an ever-changing world, that's getting probably more important than ever. So again, I guess we note any deficiencies. We appreciate that they're found, but more importantly, we note the really important and heartfelt efforts and the great work under the CEO to remediate those so that we stay in good shape over time. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any speakers against? No? With that, I put the motion. Those in favour? Mayor Mitchell?
That's affirmative, thank you.
Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation or any other motion for 14.1? Moved Councillor Mackenzie, seconded Councillor Bishop. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Mackenzie?
I'd like to move an alternate motion. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
As a seconder of that motion, I thought we were moving the officer's recommendation. That's what I'm happy to move.
Okay, well then I'll withdraw that second from you because I did ask for a mover of the motion or an alternate motion.
But we didn't have clarification, so I seconded.
So that's fine. So we will clarify the motion and then I'll ask for a seconder. So there is the slightly amended motion. Can I have a seconder for the motion that is on the screen, please? Seconded Councillor Rendells. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Mackenzie?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This motion is to support a submission into the Department of Environment, Tourism, Science and Innovation South East Queensland Koala Conservation Strategy for 2026 to 2036 discussion paper, so that it assists the Queensland Government in the development of a draft South East Queensland Conservation Strategy. Council will have further opportunity to provide additional feedback once the draft strategy has been released. Essentially, this is pre-consultation consultation. The submission supports koala protection, but the state needs to provide clearer leadership, better data and more practical support to councils and communities. As the lead state agency responsible for koala conservation, DETSI should play a central role in delivering region-wide campaigns to ensure consistent messaging and improve public awareness. The previous koala strategy did not clearly explain who was responsible for delivering actions, how success would be measured, or how councils would be funded or supported. The new strategy should have a long-term vision with check-ins every 5 to 10 years, plan for population growth, housing needs and land use pressures, balance protecting koalas in urban areas with strengthening populations in safer rural areas, improve funding mechanisms directly to councils to support the implementation of on-ground deliveries and data collection. Habitat targets should be flexible and realistic. They should combine protection, restoration and improvement of habitat and should reflect local conditions in each council area. Funding also needs significant improvement. Current funding is slow, complex and restrictive. A tiered funding system would allow small local projects as well as large long-term programs. Long-standing council investment in koala conservation should also be recognised. There are opportunities to bring in private and corporate funding to support koala conservation, with the state helping to match funding to genuine conservation needs. Offsets should deliver benefits close to where impacts occur, and local conservation efforts should count towards those offset requirements. Consistency is required in mapping policies, regulatory frameworks and monitoring, and clearer understanding of the regulatory framework is required. Where offsets are implemented, these should deliver benefits close to where the impacts occur, and all those conservation efforts, especially all those ones that we do in Redlands, should be counted towards that. The current state policy position does not provide adequate recognition of the long-standing and substantial investments that many councils, including Redland City Council, has made in establishing conservation reserves, restoring ecological corridors, and implementing evidence-based wildlife management programs. These ongoing initiatives, some of which have delivered demonstrable improvements to threatened species such as koalas, are currently not considered in the assessment of offset requirements under the state's offset framework. The submission is not calling for uniform actions everywhere, but for consistent frameworks, standards, tools, and leadership so that local governments, supported with additional funding from the state and federal governments, can deliver place-based solutions within a clear and coordinated state system. Local governments cannot continue to bear the financial burden of protecting state and nationally recognised endangered species. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, I note that we're having some screen issues. They're flashing at us, which is quite distracting. Just letting you know that the officers are trying to fix that as we go. Can I have a speaker against, please? Which one? Councillor Bishop.
Thank you, Chair. I must admit I'm surprised that this alternate or amended, significantly amended motion is before us, and I would encourage councillors who've not gone through it all to, it was sent at 4:50 yesterday afternoon, and I just want to acknowledge that a significant amount of work has been put in by our officers, and councillors did have an opportunity to make comment. I don't know how many councillors did, but I certainly did, and I hope that any councillors that did not will look at this information, because I want to speak about the importance of this submission and more broadly how we as council choose to make decisions on matters of significant environmental and community consequence. At the heart of this decision is about protection of the koala, which is an iconic species that are not only nationally iconic but also defining for Redland City. Our community expects us to approach this decision and submission with responsibility, care and credibility and integrity. I want to begin by just acknowledging the substantial amount of work that officers have done. The analysis presented in their original recommendation, which I support, is not casual or ideological. It is detailed, evidence-based and informed by some of the most advanced local research and cross-sectoral collaborations across the country. It does reflect years of accumulated knowledge about habitat, movement and corridors, nutritional dependencies that underpin koala survival. And that work matters. But when we depart from the expert-driven advice, and I'd like to note that a lot of the officers' recommendation in this report has been redacted, removed, taken out. These are officer recommendations struck through. So look at the comparison, please. Because when we depart from expert data-driven advice, particularly in complex ecological systems, we're not simply making a different choice, we're increasing the risk of unintended consequences that might not be easily reversed. So I hope the state looks at all of that. I'd like to submit the officer's recommendation as a personal capacity if I could. Of course, councillors have got the right to test, to question and to refine recommendations. That's part of our job, but there's a difference between constructive scrutiny and substituting evidence with assumption or opinion that may not reflect the broad base of our city, which I think officers have done. The amendments circulated yesterday do raise broader questions, such as what is the foundation upon which we want the submission to stand? Is it one that reflects the best advice available, the science, the careful analysis and a precautionary approach for support of a vulnerable species? Or is it one that leans toward less examined, and potentially short-term flexibility that might erode some of the habitat that we're seeking to protect. I note the threshold submission for council officers was to recommend a reduction, but the subsequent proposal is to increase clearing thresholds. So we know that the koala is not only achieved, conservation is not only achieved through a single measure, it requires a system, a connected habitat, appropriate mapping, protection of key food trees and clear thresholds that prevent incremental loss. I think the officers had that and that they had sought to strengthen that system. I encourage councillors to carefully consider the implications of moving away from the officer advice in the original report, particularly where changes might reduce the protections, increase clearing pressures or dilute the clarity of the framework that's being proposed by the state. It's an opportunity for Redland City to continue to lead and demonstrate that good planning is grounded in evidence and environmental stewardship through thoughtful growth and they're not mutually exclusive, and that we need to be prepared to make decisions that stand the test of time. I'll also note that the First Nations approach to care for country, looking after First Nations principles of ecological cool burns, seasonal awareness, those sorts of things have also been struck out. So I support the submission that retains and reflects the expertise and advice of officers and the weight of the data that's before them and us, and the expectations of a community that values our natural environment and heritage. I'm surprised this has got to us. I hope that councillors don't all support that and go back to the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have another speaker for? No? With that, I will ask Councillor Mackenzie to sum up. Comments? No, I'm not going to go to comments, Councillor. I'm going to follow standing orders.
Questions?
You have a question, Councillor? Yes, Councillor.
Thank you. For my own clarity, and I'll try and put this into some type of context. So right now we've got the...
Councillor, I am going to ask you...
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to...
A small preamble, fine, but a question.
Okay, so I'll cut straight to the chase then. Can we get clarity, please, on what Councillor Bishop was saying? What
Councillor,
were the things that he suggested as being struck out?
No.
Are they actually struck out?
Councillor, this is just simply a submission to the state. It's not a matter, it's what we would like to submit to the state. You've received all of the reports. I wish anybody luck that figures out what Councillor Bishop says sometimes. But
no, well, look,
I'd like to take that as a point of order, please, Madam Chair.
I withdraw and apologise, Councillor.
Just note of tone, thank you.
Councillor, you can't note a tone, but thank you. All right, Councillor, I don't believe that's a question that can be answered. Councillor Boglari has a question. Again, Councillor asked for not preambles and an actual question.
No preambles. Okay. Through you to the officers, if they're in the room, please. Is there an officer in the room? Okay. I did go through this last night because I was also surprised I was expecting some changes. I certainly wasn't expecting this level of change. I went through and I marked my pages. So it is on page 9, but the question at the top of that page is, what should be considered in a review of koala habitat mapping methodology? Now, I know Councillor Mackenzie has said that mapping needed to be reconsidered. However, the officers who are very learned...
Point of order. I did not say it needed to be reconsidered at all.
You mentioned something about improvement in mapping in your...
Consistency in mapping.
Consistency
Councillors,
in
could
mapping,
we please
right.
not have a chat across the chamber?
No?
Succinctly...
I don't want on the public record accusations against what
No.
I said. That is
I wasn't an accusation. I knew you had...
Councillors, I just asked you not to speak across the chamber. Councillor, please just ask your
through
question.
you, I'll clarify my wording. Consistency in mapping. This is actually the question which is discussing mapping methodology. Our officers, who are the experts in the field after years of education and experience, it is actually all struck out. And that now is empty. And we're not talking about what could be considered in the review, and yet we all agree that it needs reviewing. So my question to the officers is, without those learned comments being included, what chance do we have of achieving this review of the methodology?
Well, councillor, we're only making a submission to the state, and the state will decide on their mapping. So whether we choose to submit an answer or not, I wouldn't think is relevant, but I'll let Graham have a comment to you.
Good morning, councillors. So I guess that from an officer's perspective, we say that mapping needs to continue to evolve and refine, and that's based on the more we learn, the more we understand about koalas and their needs and across the city. So from our perspective, it's a refinement process. We know the current mapping includes lots of key koala habitat areas, but it can always be improved, is the officer view on mapping.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the officers...
Councillor, questions only.
Well, the question is, with this being struck through, Redland City Council doesn't have... We've forgone that opportunity to have a say on the review because it's now
that's
blank.
Not a question, that's a statement. So
Okay.
I'll move on to the Mayor. She's waiting to
Also
ask
on page 9, another question here is, are there other parts of koala habitat regulatory framework that could be amended? All our reply on that is also struck through, except the sentence that discusses PDAs, where there's no restriction. But the rest is also... Can I ask the officers, this is a state government regulatory framework to be amended to protect koala habitat and improve access to housing. Again, how can we have input that's valued if we have nothing in this paragraph? And your concerns, is there another avenue where we can put these concerns?
Councillor, anyone can make a submission when it comes to public consultation. No, it's not, Councillor. Mayor Mitchell, do you have a question?
Oh, sorry, because one of the points, again, that's getting made is the reliance on landowners, and that's what the officers have actually pointed out, and it is actually a positive input.
Okay.
And how do we...
Thank you,
How is our council going to be valued when we have struck out all the... We've gone against our own policies...
Councillor,
and
we
plans.
haven't gone against our own policies.
Yes, we
This is a
have.
submission answering specific questions, and we have a choice as to what information we provide.
Yep.
And the state will make a decision about how they write their policy and their regulation, and we have been invited to answer those questions.
And the Redland City Council Conservation Plan has certain actions in it which this now goes against.
No, it doesn't, Councillor.
Yes, it does. I can point out if you give me a moment,
Councillor,
I can point them out
I'm going to move on to the
because it
Mayor's
actually
question
does.
now. Thank you.
No, I would also
No,
like...
Councillor, you don't get to say no.
Well, I haven't finished my questions.
Well, so far you've been making statements, not asking questions. So if you genuinely have a question that can be answered, then go and ask it.
Having most of page 10, most of page 11, most of page 12 and 13 and 14 of the officers' recommendations and comments where the officers did not support change in its current form, how can Redland City Council now be heard, or do we have to, at this stage, or do we have to now wait until it goes out to public consultation further down the track?
Councillor, we are literally voting to have Redland City Council heard through a submission. This is our submission, and if it is supported by the majority of councillors, then...
This is a councillor submission. It is not an officer's submission because we have changed it.
We are the ones who have to vote on it. Yes, so you have a point of order, councillor.
The councillor is repeating the same question just on different matters that have been struck off. The councillor asked the question at the very start, how can council be heard? And has asked the same question 3 times. The question's already been answered by the officer.
Okay, with that, I'm moving to Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Mitchell online.
Thank you, Councillor Talty. I've got a series of questions.
You've gone back onto mute, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Talty. So this was circulated at 4:50 p.m. yesterday, and it is sizable changes. So I just got some questions to go through it to help my understanding, because there was little time to consider such sizable changes on page 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They've all been largely struck out. Could you tell me why, or could someone tell me why the council officers' recommendations where they don't support a topic, why they've been struck out on pages 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13?
Mayor Mitchell, is there anything in the submission that you don't support?
I don't support the submission. Well, I've got a question though. Could the question be answered?
I don't believe the question can be answered, Mayor.
So you can't tell me why, when the officers haven't supported a particular topic in the drafted submission, why that's been all struck out?
I would suggest that the councillors don't support the statements put in the submission and have removed those statements they don't support.
Which councillors are that you're referring to, Councillor Talty?
Well, that will be relevant to the vote taken in the meeting today.
Well, but you just said which councillors. So could you just outline which councillors that was that didn't agree?
No, Mayor, I can't. Sorry.
All right. Well, then I'll just go back to another comment. I've got a question in relation to page 3. And a line has been struck out, and I'll just read it. It is well known that containing urban sprawl and identifying land that does not have...
I'm sorry.
I have a question. Councillor Talty, I've got a question.
On the matter that's being considered for the vote. So
yeah, and that is
being voted upon, not
Councillor
what is not being voted on.
Yeah, Councillor Talty. So I'm trying to ask a question in relation to this motion that is being voted on. Mm-hmm. And the submission, what's been struck out is, it is well known that containing urban sprawl and identifying land that does not have existing conservation values underpins the planning needed to meet both housing and koala conservation needs. Using science to understand local and regional conservation needs required to sustain koalas is paramount. And that's been struck out. Could you tell me why that paragraph has been struck out?
No, Mayor, I can't. Sorry.
Can anyone else in the room tell me why that paragraph has been struck out?
That would require deviating from standing orders, Mayor. I'm sorry, but is there?
Can I put that question then to the councillor that brought this notice of motion, or brought the amendment rather, the amendment to this?
There isn't the motion before us is the motion that was moved. It is not.
Okay, all right. Could I put that then to the councillor that circulated this document at 4:50 p.m. yesterday afternoon?
No, I'm sorry, Mayor. I'm not going to have, for an orderly meeting, I'm going to stay with standing orders.
So you're not, no, so I've just to clarify for the record, I've asked 2 questions essentially, and they've not been answered. And I just want that to make that very clear for the public record.
It at 4:50 yesterday afternoon. There's been a number of meetings this week. There have been discussions.
No, I'll concur, Councillor Tulsi. I'll concur with Councillor Boglari and Councillor Bishop.
Email the councillor if you had questions. Thank you.
At 4:50 p.m. yesterday, close of business. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Boglari.
Oh, just for clarity, this was mentioned for 5 minutes on Monday.
Okay,
but no one came and said
Thank
this
you
was
for that.
coming.
We'll move on.
And I'd just like to flag that if this doesn't get up, I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Unnecessary.
Thank you, Councillor Boglari.
Councillor Bishop has already said that. Did you want to sum up, Councillor Mackenzie?
He didn't, sorry. Councillor Bishop didn't say that.
Councillor, please stop talking across the room. Councillor Mackenzie, did you want to sum up?
Very briefly, that it's the state government extended the consultation to allow this council to make a submission. It's better to make a submission than no submission, because from the conversations that were had, the officer's recommendation was not going to be supported. So it was better to strike out those matters that were not agreed with,
No, councillor,
that were
stop.
not agreed with, and make a submission.
Can you say a point of order when someone is summing up? Because that's an incorrect statement. No one knows
Councillor,
what's going to be.
your opinion of an incorrect statement is not a point of order. Please let the councillor continue.
We don't know until this point in time if something's going to be supported or not.
Councillor. Thank you, councillor. Please continue.
Regarding the statement that was made asserting that we were striking out Indigenous First Nations having the ability to manage their land, that is not correct. It was a statement that...
Point of order, that's not correct. I didn't say that.
Councillor, I just finished telling another councillor that your opinion of someone else's statement is not a point of order. Thank you. Continue, councillor.
And the increased clearing is actually a recommendation of the state on land only that is over 1 hectare in order to facilitate waste management disposal systems on that land. So I just wanted to just clarify those statements. I do believe that it is better to make a submission on the matters that we do support than to make no submission at all. And the state will determine their own policy. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. With that, I put the vote. Those in support of the recommendation as it appears on the screen, please. Okay, we have a division. Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Mitchell.
Very firmly do not support the amendments circulated at 4:50 p.m. yesterday.
I'm taking a division. What do you mean? Thank you. Thank you, councillor. Councillor Mitchell, councillor Golle, councillor Rendals, councillor McKenzie, councillor Hughes, councillor Coley and myself. Those against are councillor Boglari, councillor Hewlett, councillor Bishop and the mayor online.
Against.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone. Moving on. Reports from Infrastructure and Operations, 15.1, response to Notice of Motion Flood Mitigation Report. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation or an alternate motion? Moving the officer's recommendation, councillor. Moved by councillor Rendals, seconded by councillor Coley. Did you like to speak to it, councillor Rendals?
I'll speak to it very briefly, that the motion covers 3 watercourses in Redland Bay. Wynham Creek, Serpentine Creek, also known as Torquay Creek, and the Pitt Street Marshes wetlands. Dealing with Wynham Creek, this issue's been going on for quite a while, and the officers have been very diligent in looking at the issue, and I thank them for that. That they refer to a report, a flooding report in 2020. I was given a copy of that report, and I remember going to the area and speaking with residents who were concerned about flooding and pointing out where the upper 1 in 100-year floods were supposed to come. And I remember going the week after Cyclone Alfred and seeing that the area that was only supposed to be just touched with water was almost a metre under the water during the cyclone. And the residents are obviously concerned as to what was happening. A similar thing with Pitt Street wetlands. Serpentine Creek is another issue. I think part of the fundamental problem, and I walk down these watercourses, is a lack of routine maintenance and regular maintenance and clearing of the courses. And indeed, that was noted in the officer's report with regards to the Pitt Street wetlands, where a drainage basin was installed as part of the area development. Unfortunately, that the developer ceased to exist and the ongoing works in maintaining that basin weren't undertaken. I do recognise that there are ecological issues. Some of those are pre-existing. Some of them are just the nature of the area we live in. Paradoxically, some of them arise because of the failure to clear and the changing environment as a result of, which I have seen and officers would have seen where went there, trees fallen down across watercourses, silt build up and flooding. So I think the next step recommended of a more thorough investigation and also the next step recommended of then looking at the capital costs required if we are to rectify this problem is strongly supported. And I just reference also our second speaker today. Totally different area, totally different issue. Her issue was water emanating from a Telstra pit, which is not our problem, it's a Telstra problem. But I think what our
Councillor,
residents...
I get you to stay on the item before
What our residents are very concerned about, they're very concerned about their maintenance of their parks, their maintenance of their waterways, their roads, and I guess it's some of that basic functions of council. And I think that this highlights the need to keep on top of these things because they can very easily just build up gradually, creating the flooding concerns that we have here. So I'd commend this motion to people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have any speakers against? You have a question? Okay. Question, Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you. I really appreciate the this originated with the notice of motion. I really enjoyed reading the report and it's quite educational. My question is, there's some operational suggestions with the ecological reports and some potential capital. My question is, will these both be in, it says endorse in the report, but my question is that's being endorsed for the consideration through the normal budget processes upcoming for both the OPEX and the CAPEX?
Yes, thank you. I'll ask an officer to respond.
Thank you, Councillor, and through the Chair, confirming that that's the intention of this report. We've identified packages of work that we could deliver that responds to the original notice of motion that Councillor Rendell's raised, which has generated this report. We've identified potential costs for those, but yes, as to your point, we've not sought funding through this report, and this decision of Council has really identified this is the type of work that would be required to respond again to the notice of motion, and we would then bring those forward for both operational and capital discussions as part of the ordinary budget development, and then pending your decisions that we would either progress or not progress with those works in the future.
Second question related. Thank you, Chair. That in mind, and it's again hoping to enable great works rather than get in the way, and I may do the same question in the next item. Are officers confident that with the works that are proposed or similar works across the city, do we have the right measurement tools and matrices to do that sort of cost-benefit analysis across whether they be social, environmental benefits? It's a hotly contested space, and we just really want to make sure we're doing the right thing in the right space. So have we got the right skill set to do these things based on data, and could that be enhanced?
It's an interesting...
Big question, I know.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor, and through the Chair. Look, that's probably a bigger question I can put my mind to on the spot, but I think if I understand what you're saying is that this is a complex matter. At the end of the day, it requires us to expend money to maintain our environment. We're balancing complex matters, as discussed in the report, of threatened ecosystems, threatened species that we can't necessarily move on to manage the waterways to the degree that we might otherwise like. We're also working with constrained budget environments. We would perhaps have a very different approach to our management of many parts of our city if we had unlimited funds. So we're always balancing those complex things. I would say that we would always place a high measure of protection upon people's dwellings and properties, and probably separating, as we have in the report, water going into people's yards, particularly where they back onto waterways, is reasonable, common, and should be accepted by residents because they bought it backing onto the waterways, so should understand those things. So, look, I think we can and do multi-factor assessments of what's the right spend of our capital, and we can continue to do that, but we can always refine. But at the end of the day, we need direction from councillors on what is of highest value to you. If you would like to place highest degree of emphasis on protection of the environment at whatever cost, then we can do that. If cost is the driver, then we can also respond. So to maybe flip it back to you all, we're ultimately going to be in your hands on what you prioritise.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillor? No? Councillor Rendells, would you like to sum up?
No, once again, thank you to officers for the background work here, and I appreciate the support of people for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. With that, I put the vote. Those in favour? Mayor Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay, that's unanimously supported. Thank you. Moving on to 15.2, artificial water bodies and systems. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation or any other motion? Councillors? Thank you, Councillor Hewlett. I can't move it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'll just get a seconder, Councillor. Seconded, Councillor Mitchell. Please go ahead, Councillor Hewlett.
I believe this leads back to your original motion about Mount Cotton some time ago, but I've just seen the list of the water bodies that they're looking at, and I'm really happy to see places like Quick Creek, Wood Street included because of the Slovenia weed that's really clogging up those waterways. I just had an email yesterday from a resident.
Councillor, just give you a little bit of warning that some of the attached report's confidential, so probably don't.
I saw that it's actually the names are in the public one.
If it's in, yeah, just wanted to, yeah, it's all fine. Thank you.
So I really would like to endorse the officer's recommendation. I just received an email from a Renaissance resident yesterday, what Ipswich are doing over at Springfield. They've got these new machines called spiders that actually go into the waterways themselves and clean out all the weed without. So they're basically on legs and they're clearing out the weed and the debris and the dead fish or whatever may be in these lakes. So it is a big issue, and I'm glad that Councillor Telty raised it some months ago, so I fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to have one of those spiders. Do we have any speakers against? No? Would you like to sum up, Councillor Hewlett?
No, not thank you.
Okay, with that, I put the motion. Those in favour, Councillor. Mayor Mitchell?
Affirmative.
Thank you. That's supported unanimously. Thank you. 15.3, indoor sports facility planning, recommended site options and next steps. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation or any other motion? Moved Councillor Koala, seconded Councillor Hughes. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Koala?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chair. I would like to move the officer's recommendation to provide in principle support for the recommended site as identified in confidential attachment 1, to authorise officers to progress stage 1, business case development and market sounding for the recommended site, and that attachments 1 and 2 remain confidential until such time as all key due diligence investigations are completed and Council determines to proceed with the preferred development option, subject to maintaining the confidentiality of legally privileged, private and commercial in confidence information. What an exciting opportunity we have in front of us today to continue to progress the delivery of an indoor sports facility for our community, something they have been crying out for many years. And I'm sure that we all wish that it could happen quicker and that it was further down the process of delivering this critical infrastructure for our community. But the process is certainly well and truly underway, and I would like to thank Council and Council officers who have all worked so hard to get us to the point where we are now. Thank you to Mel and Charlotte and Megan and the rest of the team who have been involved with this. This is of great community interest, and I've been contacted by several community members who represent large organisations who would benefit from this sort of facility just this week. Really excited about what we have in front of us and the opportunity that we have to deliver something that will have a real lasting legacy for our city. The work which has been undertaken since we last discussed this agenda item in September 2025 has seen the progression of one of 3 preferred sites identified in September, and in the last 6 months, the site that has been identified is now able to be progressed almost immediately. So we've listened to the community feedback over the past 6 months. Officers have done some great work with due diligence, and we will commence with the support of council today to work on a business case for a site which doesn't require the relocation of existing sporting clubs, and a site which has the capacity to support a precinct which caters for multiple community, sport and recreation uses. The business case will include a more detailed analysis which further considers site viability, commercial opportunities, costs, risks and potential delivery models. The reality is that this sort of significant infrastructure isn't cheap, and we as council are taking responsible steps to ensure the proposed delivery can be done in the most efficient way possible. We will consider all options, from a council-delivered project, grant funding pathways, a public-private partnership, and everything in between. While we don't know what the outcome of the business case and market sounding will be, what we do know is that if we don't progress today, the significant deficit in indoor courts in our city will only get worse. The onus is on us, councillors, to deliver this critical infrastructure for our community. The time for talking is over. Let's take action. Let's progress with this today. I thank you for your support.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have any speakers against? You're speaking against? Certainly, councillor Bishop.
Yeah, in doing so, I need to acknowledge that this is a very important matter. I do feel the need to speak because the title of this report is about considering an indoor stadium, which is part of what's contained in the public-facing report, part of this report, but it also references an integrated precinct. But the confidential section of the report specifically considers another matter, which is also of immense community importance. And it's on the grounds of both transparency and strategy that I wish to speak today, noting that I cannot reference the confidential section, which I find is unhelpful in my desire to support the community interest. So a few points. Yes, of course, we do represent a very passionate community, and before us is a classic strategic infrastructure question for council. How do we make good decisions when there are strong community demand, limited capacity, limited real estate, and a range of competing expectations? And to assist us, I believe that what we need as councillors to do is to shape a clear framework for how our future decisions will be made. This is not going to happen almost immediately, and it's the framework I'd like to talk about, because if we get that right, the outcomes are far more likely to serve the community well over the long term. At the moment, and I would suggest there's a natural tendency, perhaps a habit, to move sometimes prematurely toward discussions about a preferred site or a preferred model or a preferred partnership, but I'd like to respectfully suggest that before we lock ourselves into any of those positions, it's important that we step back and ensure that we are working from a clear, structured and transparent evidence base. I think that's what officers are proposing. So I'm grateful to officers for not only their report, but their answers to my questions. And I strongly support officers to bring back a more detailed and strategic options analysis, not just asking whether we should do a public-private partnership, or co-investment, but looking at genuine comparisons of delivery models, including full council delivery, state and federal co-funding, council with contracted operator, partnership models, staged approaches for delivery, and potential regional collaborations, including with schools. And alongside that, I also urge that we more broadly consider site suitability, financial sustainability, and community impact, including who benefits, who pays, and who may be unintentionally excluded from any model that we choose, because a decision like this will shape our city for decades to come, and we should ask what is going to deliver the greatest benefit to the greatest number of residents over the long term. I'm sure that will be part of what we do. It's also important to acknowledge that indoor stadiums and other potentially integrated elements that frustratingly I can't mention at this time, while both of them are valuable, they're likely fundamentally different in their economics and their user groups. So combining these things too early in our discussions could sometimes make our decisions more complex rather than clearer. And it's a pattern that I would like us to avoid from the outset by getting a framework. So transparency and strategy is critical here. I wish I could speak to the item, but for me the most constructive pathway forward is to support officers bringing back a constructive, structured assessment that allows councillors to properly understand the trade-offs between delivery and maintenance, cost, control, risks and community outcomes before we form a fixed position or final locations. Because ultimately our responsibility is to respond not just to the loudest voice or the deepest pockets or the most immediate pressure, but with limited land, time and money before costs escalated in that pre-Olympic infrastructure squeeze. We need to ensure that whatever decisions we make are in the best interest of the long-term outcome for the community, even if it means we depart from this particular site. So I look forward to us being able to fully discuss the full range of elements that come back and consider them either separately or integrated at a subsequent meeting with a report title that hopefully allows open and transparent discourse on the full matters that are before us. Thank you. And I will be voting in support.
Thank you, councillor. I will ask an officer just to clarify. That is exactly what we are voting on, because they're going to bring a business case and ways that that business case might be achieved. And so everything you've just mentioned, as I understand it, is exactly what's happening. Any officers want to clarify that? Confirmed? Thank you, councillor. Thank you, officer. Okay, with that, have you got a question, councillor? Sorry, councillor, before I go to questions, I have had a speaker against. I'll have another speaker for. Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you. Congratulations, Councillor Bishop. That's fantastic. I'll also speak for. Thank you. I've no intention of stepping back. Not a chance. We're not stepping back. We've looked back. We've looked sideways. Officers done an awesome job. Councillors, we've done a good job. But it hasn't been tricky to get to this point. And it is our job to move forward. We are going to be strategic. We're going to be building business cases. We've shown innovation. Council and this cohort have shown leadership. And now it's so exciting to think that we've got a real opportunity in front of us to now deliver for our community. So we will be stepping forward. Our decision is to make the clear decisions and despite any challenges, in this case, we have got a chance to deliver not only a great indoor sports precinct, but some real value to the ratepayers, open up opportunities for private business. And again, we don't know the future, but it's just exciting to have a number of potential futures, but all somewhere heading towards the North Star, which is delivering on some new sporting facilities for our community. So definitely, yes, please, councillors, vote for this today so we can all step forward together with our community.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have any more speakers against? No. I have a question from councillor Golly.
Thank you, Chair. Just very quickly, just for my... I must have missed a memo here somewhere. This is still off the back of the Mayor's original Mayor or Minute to progress an indoor sports stadium, right? No? I missed the memo?
Councillors, please don't speak across the chamber.
I thought this was a continuation of the Mayor's Mayor or Minute to seek
I'll ask
the
an
business
officer to
case
respond.
for an indoor stadium.
Thank you. I'll ask an officer to respond.
Councillors, I'm just trying to stretch my mind back, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, and perhaps to do this, did the Mayor's notice of motion was unsuccessful and there was a second notice of motion that was then brought, or a report that was brought? So I think, to Councillor Guy, I think, as I understood my memory of that meeting, is that the Mayor's notice of motion wasn't supported by councillors, but there was a separate report that was then brought to progress an indoor stadium, and this is responding to that.
Thank you. Okay, councillor, your question's been answered unless you have a fresh question. Thank you.
So
And
my
not,
second question is, as a matter of process, can I use the floor to speak against a motion, but then in the same time say, but I'm going to support the motion?
you can, but it's not particularly good form.
I just think it's very confusing for the people watching at home.
Yes, but that's not really a
anyway.
question, councillor.
Okay.
No. Not that I'm aware of. Councillor, I will take a comment.
Excuse me, I can't hear the conversation. Maybe microphones aren't being used.
Sorry. The chair has allowed me a comment, and I thank the chair for allowing me to have a comment. I think every councillor might like to have a comment, considering how long it's been, about 10 years. We've been talking about having an indoor stadium. I remember not voting 2018 with the corporate plan because it didn't get in there. So
instead of the word stadium, we say...
Oh, sorry, indoor indoor facility, sorry, indoor sporting facility. Stadium might show, yeah, no, we're not doing a Suncorp or something, but I don't think any councillor in this room hasn't had less than a dozen conversations about indoor facilities and the lack of sporting infrastructure that's required around our city. It's certainly been on the table as long as I've been in here. So it's great that we're finally moving forward, and I really look forward to working with the officers, on this one. And I wanted to just say thank you to them for getting it to this stage and for all the other great work that they are doing with our sporting clubs. But no, it's great to get to this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Mayor Mitchell, you had a comment, is it? Or a question?
Yes, thank you. No, a comment. So I too am really happy to see this move forward. So to answer the previous question, I did bring forward a Mayor or Minute. It wasn't supported by the majority of councillors at that time, and a few months later a report was brought back to council, and that was supported, and we've progressed since then. I think it's really wonderful and important to the city that this project does progress, and I too thank the officers for the work that they have done in progressing this issue. In terms of prioritisation and in terms of our city's needs and the many benefits that this could possibly bring, not only for social inclusion, for sports development, for meeting our sporting demand needs, and for the possible future attraction of international, national and local sporting competitions. It is very exciting, and it would be lovely to see this being delivered, and I fully support seeking out the most appropriate options, including looking at state and federal funding to support such an important project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, with that, councillor Koala, did you need to sum up? Oh, Mayor, did you have something else you wanted to say, or you just haven't put your hand down yet? Oh, thank you.
No, thank you.
Sorry, go on, councillor Koala.
Yeah, thank you. We make good decisions by being informed, and this resolution today to proceed to a business case will give us all the information that we need to make the best decisions possible as we progress through this process And again, I want to thank the officers. You've done a great job, very thorough with the work that you've done already, and I'm sure that we will expect the same level of detail and investigation, which will allow us to make informed decisions about this important community infrastructure.
Thank you. And with that, I put the vote, the motion. Those in favour? Mayor Mitchell?
Affirmative.
That's unanimously supported. Thank you. I'm not aware of any intention to amend or repeal. We have no notices of motion or urgent business of which I'm aware. We will move to confidential items. There are 3 confidential items in the agenda today. I'm not sure if we need to move into confidential, but before I move into the big spiel, can I just run through, councillors? Do we need to move into confidential in relation to 19.1? No. Do we need to move into confidential in regard to 19.2? No. You've had your questions answered. Good. 19.3? You need to move into confidential for 19.3. Okay.
If I have questions, who do I send them to?
Councillor, I believe we're going to have a chat after the meeting in regard to that. So we can, if we can proceed with this now.
Okay.
I believe the CEO is going to be available to answer questions later in the day.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, councillor?
Forgive my being pedantic, but do we need a vote on each of those items?
Only if we want.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just. This is just. I'm just checking if I need to take a vote. Okay. So I will do that if we need to. Yes.
Sorry, what are we having a meeting on later?
Just an opportunity to ask any questions following the AGM that occurred the other day. So that's why it came up in relation to 19.3. No, it's not relevant to that. The councillor was just wanting more information on something offline. Oh, sorry, Mayor, you have a question? Or sorry, you wanted to go into confidential for something?
Sorry, it's just a point of clarity around going into confidential. Currently, where you're up to in the agenda, are you seeking an indication now for moving into confidential in relation to 19.1 to 19.3? Yes. And have you had an indication from councillors? Because I just couldn't see on the screen and couldn't understand.
At this point, no councillor has indicated that they need to go into confidential. That they have all indicated that they're happy to vote on each of those items without a need to go into confidential to ask questions, unless you have a need to go into confidential for any one of those.
No, that's fine then. Thank you.
Okay. So given that, we don't need to go into confidential. I don't need to run through all of the spiel, do I? I can just move to the votes. Right. So, councillors, with that, because we have examined all of these matters prior to today, which is wonderful, thank you all for being very dedicated, I will need a mover and a seconder for 19.1, 2026 Signature Events Attraction and Retention Fund, applications for grant funding. Moved Councillor Mitchell, seconded Councillor Mackenzie. All those in favour? That's a negative from council not in favour? Okay. Mayor Mitchell?
Sorry, could you read out the name? Could you, because if you haven't got it, I can't make out. Are you recording the names in the record?
We're taking a vote on 19.1, which is the report on the 2026 Signature Events Attraction and Retention Fund, applications for grant funding.
Sorry, so just for the record in the room, you've so far, you were just trying to clarify whether you had a negative vote then or whether everyone,
sorry,
just for the record.
There was one councillor that is voting against. I was just checking that he hadn't just not put his hand up, and then I'll take a division once I know your vote.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Based on the knowledge that I've got to date, supporting.
Thank you very much. So with that, there is a division. So councillors, if you could indicate your vote in the positive. So those in favour are Councillor Boglari, Councillor Mitchell, Councillor Golle, Councillor Rendells, Councillor Mackenzie, Councillor Hughes, Councillor Coley, Councillor Bishop, the Mayor and myself. And those against are Councillor Hewlett. Thank you. With that, councillors, we move to 19.2, Raby Bay Marina Partnership Opportunity. And I can have a mover and a seconder. Moved Councillor Mitchell, seconded Councillor Boglari. All those in favour? Councillor, you a negative? Okay. Councillor Mitchell, you a positive or a negative? Mayor online?
Thank you, positive.
Okay, we do have a division, so I'll just ask those in favour to keep their hands up. We have in favour are Councillor Boglari, Councillor Mitchell, Councillor Golle, Councillor Hewlett, Councillor Rendells, Councillor Mackenzie, Councillor Hughes, Councillor Coley, the Mayor and myself, and those against are Councillor Bishop. Thank you. Moving on to Redland Investment Corporation financial report for the period ending 31st of December 2025. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the report, please? Moved Councillor Mackenzie, seconded Councillor Boglari. All those in favour? Mayor Mitchell? Sorry. Mayor Mitchell?
Affirmative.
Affirmative. So that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, councillors, very much. With that, we might have a record. I declare the meeting finished at 11:21. Good morning.